Joie, joie, joie. Joie, joie, joie. Nakamwe lapsule. Joie, joie, joie. Jazzy mwep chante. Chale la la mwepole.
He's trying to sing Creole.
All right, enough of that. That was an old Haitian proverb out of Mole St. Nicholas. Welcome to the Get Wealth Podcast. My name's Brennan Wiersma. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And we have a very special guest today, Chelsea Wiersma, also known as digital nomad, online marketing, and website designing genius. So if you want to, first off, let's just clear the air right here. Are you in a pyramid scheme?
No.
Okay.
I have thought about joining them many times, but haven't done it yet.
Okay, so what do you do?
I'm a virtual assistant for a company called Rivley, but I also do some freelancing work on the side. So basically, I do social media management, web design, content creation, or just any general virtual assistant services. So virtual assistant is like an assistant you would have in your office, I guess, except virtually. Calendar management, email management, but the stuff that I do, like I find joy in, is the web design and social media management and that kind of stuff.
Okay, and that's a very new thing. People aren't familiar with that. It's from what I've heard in my experience, especially when I try to explain what you do. That's a whole thing on its own. So let's go back. Comic book one of Chelsea's life. Where does it start, and how do you get to here?
Well, I studied to be a missionary, and but I kind of now looking back, I think I kind of did that because I wanted to travel. Like I kind of thought that the only ways to travel were to either be a missionary or really rich or something. And I fell in love with the country of Haiti and I wanted to move there. So I moved to Haiti and I ended up being the communications director of a private international school. So what that really meant was the school had zero online presence, and I did have a minor in journalism. So what I ended up doing was building them a website and Instagram and Facebook and all these social media platforms that they didn't have at all. It was basically like in the 80s, their marketing stuff. And I just taught myself that. So then, just keep going how I ended up here.
Let's back up a little bit because me knowing the first, 18 years of your life.
Wait, you didn't tell them I'm your sister.
So our third guest does happen to also be my sister. So me having some sort of prior knowledge to this, you skipped over a pretty big part there.
What?
You did get a degree, right?
Yeah, my degree.
Did you say that?
Yeah, my degree was missionary studies.
Okay, so...
Well, it was called intercultural studies.
Okay.
But it was basically everyone that wanted to be a missionary. My minor was in journalism and Bible. So pairing the journalism with the cultural studies, I tell people I studied intercultural communications.
Right.
Because, I learned how to tell the gospel to people in different cultures. But I do use that because I had to learn how to communicate with people from all different backgrounds. Mm-hmm. And then the minor in journalism really taught me how to use my writing skills or communication skills in any setting or culture.
Okay. And what school did you go to?
Biola University. It's in Southern California.
Okay. And how did you come across to that school, and what made you decide to go to there instead of whatever other journalism school that you might choose?
Well, I wanted to go to one that was a Christian school because I also wanted to study the Bible. I wanted to live in California. I was just I'm going to go to California. But then I also saw that they had a program where their journalism students travel to a different country to write a book. and they do one every year. And the country that was for my freshman year was Haiti, and I had already been to Haiti, so that was kind of like the main reason I went to the school, was to be a part of that book project.
And were they already going to Haiti and you decided you wanted to go with that, or did you get a pick how that works? Like,
Yeah, they already like had posted our book project for this year will be Haiti, and so then
that
I
was
like
just
applied
chance.
to go. Yeah.
Okay. And you had already been to Haiti in high school, right?
But even if it wasn't Haiti, I mean, I thought it was so cool that they have a program where you travel and then write a book.
Okay. And so that was one of your trips to Haiti, correct? Was through that.
Yeah.
And so what was that? That would have been your second time in the country, or
No,
third?
probably like my fourth.
Okay, so you're pretty well versed in what it's like over there at that
Yeah.
point. And at what point did you decide that you wanted to spend more time traveling, or even more time in Haiti?
From the first time I went there, I was like, I want to be here always.
Okay, so you didn't really have an idea how, you just knew that you wanted to spend
Yeah,
more
well,
time
I think
there?
like missionary was kind of like ingrained into my brain, so
Right.
I think right away I knew I wanted to do that.
Okay. And at what point did you find an opportunity that you might be able to work there? You mentioned you worked at the school. Where did that come into the picture?
Well, basically, I started finding any opportunity to get to Haiti I could. So I went once. I made a friend at Biola who had an agricultural business and needed someone to like blog while he was doing work. So I went with him. And then I found a random company online who needed a first grade teacher, and that was like a really bad situation where I was like in the middle of nowhere. It wasn't actually a real school, but I went. And then then I went with Biola, and then when I was with Biola, I interviewed the founder of a fashion company there. So I ended up going back to do an internship with the fashion company. Also, during that book project, I had interviewed the principal of the school I ended up working at. So I knew the principal, and then actually during our interview, he was like, we need someone to run our journalism department. Like, when you graduate, keep us in mind. So then after graduation, I emailed them, and they offered me the job.
And then you were off to the races. So, what about Haiti drew you to it? What makes it different than another place in the world that you could have ended up, or was it just chance that you happened to find that place?
What initially drew me to it was like I've always struggled with anxiety really bad. And then the first time I went, as soon as I stepped off the plane, it's like a very chaotic airport, not a place where you should feel peace. But as soon as I like stepped out of the plane there, I felt like a huge amount of peace. I thought that was God at the time telling me that that's where I was supposed to be. Whatever it was, I felt like a lot of peace there. And I met some of the most amazing people I've ever met there. And I like that the country is so like raw and real, both like the land and the people. I think like a lot of like if you visit like a cool Caribbean island or whatever, it's usually like touristy and very like like you go here and then you go there and then you go there. But Haiti was just like a crazy beautiful mess where I could do whatever I wanted and go wherever I wanted, and I don't know, like I kind of liked the chaos.
Okay, because I think that a lot of people, when they imagine what Haiti is like, they hear Haiti and they think of the earthquake.
Yeah.
Or they immediately, the first thing that pops into their mind is it's a third world country.
Yeah.
What can you shed light on that a lot of people would fail to realize, as far as maybe the land and the beaches, or is it the culture there? What are some things you are highlighted to you that stand out that most people don't get the chance to appreciate?
I mean, it's a beautiful Caribbean island. Before all of the like wars and everything, it used to be called the Pearl of the Caribbean, and celebrities you literally had their like vacation homes there. And you have like just think of a tropical island, clear blue waters, and then on top of that they have huge beautiful mountains. The culture is just like if you meet someone, they literally like make you a part of their family. Like I would meet people and they would invite me in for dinner with their family. And I don't know, I had never felt so like welcomed and loved by strangers. And it was just like,
yeah, I could speak to that a little bit because when I went, one of the parts that stuck out to me was everywhere you went, people initially they were, minding their own business and they have this look on their face, but as soon as you smile and wave at them, they just light up, and everybody was willing to say hi to you.
yeah.
Which, if you go to anywhere, okay. What was I saying? Something about when I was in Haiti.
Oh, the people.
Yeah, the people were really welcoming, and everyone says hi to you. Oh yeah, whereas if you were to go to a big city, pretty much point on
anywhere
a map,
in the U.S.,
you're gonna get mean looks and
yeah,
unfriendly faces a lot of the time.
And you've seen the beaches and stuff too.
Yeah, and the beaches, the water,
the food,
a lot of it. There's a lot to be seen there. There was another right before the video went out. I was gonna ask a question about traveling there.
You said no. You already said that.
I remember. So, are you pretty versed in the history of Haiti?
Yes.
Because we were talking about how it's a third world country now, but it used to be this incredible place.
Yeah.
Voodoo is pretty big in Haiti. That's a big thing, right? Mm-hmm. I remember hearing there was some deal that was made with the devil, and then there was a certain amount of chaos that was supposed to happen, and then right after it ended, there was no more earthquakes. Like during that period of time, that's when they got hit with the most. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I've heard of that.
What is that? Is that?
I've heard like a lot of Christian missionaries say that.
Yeah, that's what I know.
Yeah, that's like when the chaos started. I don't know if that's actually in like Haitian history books.
Okay.
But I do know that like voodoo is more than like just a scary religious thing. It's like a huge part of their culture because it involves music and dancing and different sounds. So lots of times you'll hear music that actually has like voodoo sounds in it and you don't even know because it's just a certain drum beat. So I think like when you first you're like, oh, voodoo, like it's a scary like but there's actually like there's music and like there's a lot more to it.
Yeah. It was a little bit unsettling when I was there because we went to the little village. You were there probably.
Yeah.
Called Carnage. And
I didn't go with you that night, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so we go down these off roads, and it takes so long to get there because the roads are so terrible. And I just hear we're going to save or help this little kid, give him a wheelchair, something heroic like that. And we get there, and it's all the way down the end of this road, and right next to the house is supposedly the voodoo queen lived there.
Yeah. And
there was a flag that was red from the top. And, people were like muttering that she had sacrificed 2 of her kids or something.
Yeah, they do
like
some.
That.
And I think that also has to do with like maybe education. Like maybe that's just my interpretation. But the people that I've met that do lots of the sacrificing and stuff like that maybe aren't as educated. That could be really wrong, but that's what I've noticed. Because I also know people who practice voodoo who are educated, and they would never like sacrifice their child.
Right,
I don't know. I don't know.
That's not like a buy-in to the program. To the pyramid
I think there are different like villages like way out that like do those practices that I've seen.
Yeah, that's a weird one for me. It might take me a while to get over that living there. Going outside and you see something like that. But that's not even close to what the depiction of Haiti should be.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there's a lot of, even just going through the street, you see people that have their little shops set up and you can get the food there. That's just the parts that I saw. But they have those little, remember that brittle?
Oh, yeah, the peanut brittle.
The peanut brittle, that was like probably the best part of the whole thing.
How do you say that? How do you say that?
Yeah, can you speak
the peanut brittle that you buy on the street? Pistache. No, but it's not just pistache. It's you break it, and they get in the little paper bags.
Anyways.
Well, peanut is pistache. Yeah, tablet pistache.
Tablet pistache was a hit for me. Okay, so you go to Haiti in what, senior year, junior year of college?
For the book project?
Yeah.
I think that was June. Oh, no, I only did college for 3 years. I
right.
fit it into 3 years. I think that was sophomore year.
Okay, and at that point, did you have any idea what you were actually going to be doing out of school?
I wanted to be a missionary. Well, I either wanted to be a missionary or a journalist. I think I was like doing this tug of war, like move to Seattle and work for like Seattle Times or go be a missionary.
Because typical journalism is a lot different than really what you do now. I mean, you can use that because you do things like a blog and other forms of journalism. But, I mean, really, if you want to make it as a journalist on like the mainstream journalism, really that's in, reporting and things like that, right?
Yeah.
Which is fairly competitive to actually.
Yeah, I think I didn't like the competitive part.
Yeah. Lots of Adderall and all that fun stuff. But, okay, so how did you get from Biola to Quisqueya, the school you were working at? Where did that opportunity come
when
from?
I was there for the book project, one of the people we interviewed for our book was the president of this school. And then during the interview, he was like, "Oh, I see you're really good at this. We have no one running our marketing or journalism department. Like, when you graduate, keep us in mind." So I think they reached out to me and offered me the position. And I basically graduated and, like, moved there a month later.
And that's a pretty big move, right? You're going from the United States in your dorm room, right? That's probably the last place you lived, was in those little apartments, right?
Yeah, I was just like home at mom and dad's for literally 1 month of summer.
Okay, and then you just pack up your stuff and decide to go live indefinitely in a third world country.
Yeah.
All right. And what was the first year like, or the first place you lived at? Because if I remember, it was not the most comfortable.
Yeah, the house was really bad. I lived in this house of all these other like American teachers, and there's basically no plumbing. We had a really bad cockroach problem. We rarely got electricity. It was really bad. It was really uncomfortable.
But you toughed it out for
Sorry.
At least a couple days, right? Like a year.
No, I lived there for a year and a half. Or did I move at Christmas? Yeah, I think I lived there for 6 months. And then at 6 months, I met another girl that was like a missionary there, and she had a really cute 2-bedroom apartment and was living by herself.
And that quality of life was just like a level.
Yeah, she invited me to live with her.
Yeah, because I remember it wasn't looking like a long-term plan while you were
the
living.
Other place.
Yeah. I mean, you got dishes and all these first world problems still that you got to go through there too. So, okay, and then the job itself. So obviously you're not still doing that. Why not? Why was that
hated it.
Okay. I didn't know if you were
Well, first of all, I feel like... Well, first of all, I wasn't being a missionary. I wanted to be a missionary, but the school I worked at is like... I mean, it's a Christian school, so if you're trying to spread the word of God, everyone there is already kind of Christians. Mm-hmm. And second of all, I had this idea like, oh, I'm going to help the poor or whatever, but these are like wealthy people at this school. Like, it's a private school, so you have to pay a good amount of money to go there. I mean, the president's kid went there.
Yeah, so these kids are legit. They're with
so it's not like I'm like helping the poor or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's very common at mission organizations for them to ask you to do extra without being paid because you're serving the Lord and you're serving and you're doing it out of the goodness of your heart. So, I mean, I should have been being paid a lot more, and I did a lot more than what I felt like I was even qualified for. Like, they would be like, oh, can you be a substitute teacher tomorrow for high school geometry? Okay, first of all, I was 21, and some of the high school seniors were 18. So I was like going and trying to help with geometry to these high schoolers that just keep hitting on me because they think I'm their age and I don't know anything about math.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't even getting paid extra for that.
Right. But you did coach a cheer team.
Oh, yeah, that was fun. So I tried to start something that was like my passion, that I could actually really invest in these. Like my passion was kind of like teenage girls, because I felt like I didn't really have like a mentor or whatever when I was in high school.
Oh, okay.
So I led a girls' Bible study, and I started a cheer team. It was like the first cheer team ever. And we had like legit uniforms and everything.
That's crazy. Do you know what that is like now? Do they still have it?
They still have it, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So you started a legacy. There's going to be on the A wall.
Yeah.
They're going to have those girls there, all league, all Haiti, all Haiti cheer team.
Yeah.
Okay. So at what point did you realize I'm done? I can't be a missionary at the Quisqueya school where everyone's smarter than me?
My last year there, I was like super depressed. Like every single day, I was like, why am I doing this? Because I would literally just sit in the school library and work on the website. So I never even like saw people. Like some days I just didn't show up to work and no one noticed because no one ever saw me. So I was getting like really depressed. I felt like I didn't have a purpose. And I would like walk to work through the trash every day. What am I doing? And then my best friend Steph like started working in the library with me, and she was like, dude, you're 22, like go travel, go do things. Like, why are you still here? So at that point I was like, I was like never gonna work a desk job because I hated sitting at that desk every day. I was like, I want to travel, but I don't know how to work and still do that. So that's when I was like, I need to figure out a way.
And at this point, you don't know where that outlet is going to be, right? You don't have anything in sight.
Yeah.
So how did you begin that process of figuring a way out?
Well, I started doing a little bit of freelance in Haiti. Like, I built a couple websites for people, and I started doing social media management for this fashion company there. And then pretty soon I convinced my boss at the school to let me work from home. So I was like, okay, like I can get jobs here and there. I can work from home. But I mean, it was just like a few $100 a month. It was nothing I could live off of.
I mean, in Haiti, that comes pretty close. Right?
Not really. Stuff is kind of expensive there.
Oh. Oof.
Yeah, so I was like, I know. And then that's kind of when this whole like digital nomad thing kind of started becoming a thing. So I knew that it was possible, but I just didn't know how. But I was like, that's my new goal.
Okay, so how did you achieve that, right? You're doing it now, so where did that come from?
Well, I have a friend, Lynn, who I recently traveled with, and she has a podcast also where she interviews people that travel and work online. So I asked her for advice because I was like, you've talked to a lot of people that have done this, you do it yourself. And she told me to make a spreadsheet and find every online, and find every online company I could and just start applying. So I made a spreadsheet. I applied to 80 different companies, like all different formats. One was like bloggers, and then I found out about virtual assistants, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool because that's kind of what I'm doing now. It's like office work kind of. So I found Rivley, who I work for now, and they had just started, and I loved their Instagram. Like I was like, oh, these are my kind of people. So I applied. They were like my favorite one, top of my list. But I spent every day at my other job applying to other jobs. So I would just sit there for like hours applying. And then finally, like I applied to 80 and I still didn't hear back from Rivley. And then finally, like it must have been 2 months later, they called me for an interview.
Did you hear back from the other 79?
Yeah, I had gotten a couple interviews. Like some of them were like, I made it to stage 3, and then as soon as Rivley hired me, I just didn't even answer anyone else because that was like my dream company.
Okay, and Rivley called you back 2 months later, you just said, right?
Maybe not that long. I don't know. It felt like a really long time. I don't know if they like lost my email or something.
Okay, so let's talk about Rivley. What is that? Where did it come from? Who thought of the idea? What does it do now? What do you do for it? And let's just break down what that company actually is, because I mean, I really don't understand still.
Okay, so Rivley is a virtual assistant firm. It was founded by Sasha Rowe, and basically she used to be a virtual assistant. But when she had her son Diesel, she realized she had to make the decision between going back to work or staying home and raising her son. And she was like, why should I have to choose? Like, women should be able to work and raise their kids. So she started this company for herself and for other moms so that they could work and raise their kids. It's evolved since then, but that's how it started.
And it started out as, I mean, work. What is work? Right?
So assistants, virtual assistants. So like imagine if you have an office assistant. They book meetings for you and they manage your calendar and make calls, but we do it virtually. So she would find trained assistants who have college degrees, and she would pair them with different entrepreneurs.
Okay.
So she would find like big business owners who needed an assistant, but they'll actually save money because we clock our hours, so you don't have to pay for all the hours that they're just sitting in the office waiting for the phone to ring, you know? So you can have an assistant virtually, and the really cool thing about Rivley is they also pair by personalities. So they've paired me like with someone who is also interested in like healthy eating and travel, or they try to pair on personalities and interests so that it's like a long-lasting partnership.
To me, that seems like, how has that not been thought of
I
a
know.
long time ago? Because
it's genius.
It's a very strong idea.
Or like another example, one of our clients is Broglie Box, and it's a monthly subscription box for mental health. And we have a girl in our company who has struggled with mental health and blogs about her anxiety or whatever. And so she got paired with them. And so it's perfect. And so she manages their inbox. But we also have people like entrepreneurs who are like, I need my Instagram managed. Can you just like make the pictures for me and post them? We do that.
Yeah.
Other ones are like, my website sucks. Can you help me build up my website? So I did that for someone, and we had like the exact same style, like minimal, simplistic. And so I was kind of able to get in her head and know, oh, she'll think this looks good.
So as an assistant, you got to be ready to do a wide variety of things, right? Like you're building a website one day, and then other days you're sending emails or making business cards. How do you prepare for a job where you don't really know what the project is? Did you have to learn a lot as you went, or do you feel like you had enough previous knowledge to be able to whip up a website in a weekend and have a great product for, the CEO of, Amazon or something like that?
I think I had enough knowledge to start, but I've learned so much along the way. Like each client, I've learned more. And also, they trained me really well, and I'm actually the virtual assistant to the CEO now. And she has a really good eye for design, and she's kind of trained me and helped me. And even doing little projects on my own, like I've asked friends, can I make you a business card? Like like for fun, because then I learn from it, and I get like more under my belt.
Right, yeah. So for anybody watching, she's actually the first sponsor of the podcast, created our logo, and will be the designer of our website when that comes out. So, yeah, she is very expensive. She charges extremely high prices. So unless you're,
and I'm booked for the year, but I could maybe squeeze you in if you.
You'll have to talk to her virtual assistant if you do want to book something, and they have a virtual assistant, so it kind of keeps going that way. But
I'm hard to get a hold of, but.
No, I lost my train of thought. So you're making all these. Oh yeah. So you've showed me some projects you've done just because you've gotten pretty good at the whole being a designer and an assistant for different needs and things like that. can you speak on the other projects you've done? Because I know recently you've shown me some cool websites and things like that.
Oh, like the hair.
Yeah. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, like we went to get a haircut, my boyfriend and I at what's it called? Where Aaron goes.
Jean Lores.
Yeah, it's like a super cool. Brennan gets his hair.
If you're gonna go there, it's in Everett. You just got to look up Papi Chulo Cuts. He's the best in the game. And I mean, she's about to talk about a different barber, but that's my boy. And
yeah, they're like super cool. So, anyways, we went to get a haircut. And the guy was like, I was just sitting there on my laptop while he was getting his hair done. And the guy was like, oh, what are you doing on your laptop? And I was like, oh, I do web design. And he's like, well, I actually compete. Like, I compete for haircuts, I guess. There's like haircut competitions, like the different designs.
Yeah, they're legit. They're
like barber. Super legit barber competitions. So I ended up making him like a super legit website. He had like videos of him cutting hair with like flames and like all his different competitions.
Yeah, I mean, if people want to go pause the video and look him up, his name's Aaron.
Yeah, and it's creativestylestudio.com.
Creativestylestudio.com. So you can look that up and show him some support. Also, Papi Chulo Cuts on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I don't know where else to find him, but yeah.
Okay. But yeah, that was really fun to make. It's fun when it's something that I'm actually like really interested in.
Because there's a good chance you play a big part in, some competition that sees him or whoever goes on that website, because that probably drives a lot of traffic if he's advertising himself. And so that's kind of cool. You can have some sort of a supplement to someone's business or whatever it is.
Yeah,
like you kind of sprinkle your talents all over the place, right? What about the doctor?
Oh yeah. So cool I have another client. It's totally random, like not what I usually do, but they have these huge medical conferences all over the country where doctors can get their CMEs, which are medical credits. And so I just manage like their customer service inbox. But because I manage the inbox, I know the answers to any questions someone might have. So they ended up flying me out to all of their events to just like man the customer service booth. But they have them like all over the U.S. So I was in a different state every month last year.
Right, Scottsdale, which is where we are right now.
Yeah.
And I got to see what that was like.
Yeah, and you met them.
I live in Prescott, Arizona, and I drove up to check it out, and I pulled up to this resort that I had no business being in. And there's just Lamborghinis and Ferraris and Bugattis everywhere, and there's this just huge apartment suite. We go out to the dinner, and they're having like filet mignon and sliders, and this doctor who's like the head of some company, I don't know even what he does, but he's like super friendly. Have a seat. What do you do? And I'm talking to
Brennan, we're getting you drinks, Brennan.
And so that was the first time I realized, oh, you got something going here. This is.
Like,
this really is.
My sister is doing something with her life.
This isn't a pyramid scheme. Like, this is real life.
Did you think I was in a pyramid
No,
scheme?
I didn't at all. I never did. But yeah, to stomp that misnomer out. But so yeah, obviously there's a big difference between making that website and also like, can you talk? I didn't know, you might have just explained it and I wasn't paying attention, but what does he do? Like what is your role in that? Because you were dealing with some pretty technical stuff that you kind of had to learn, and now you're their go-to person for it, right?
Yeah, I mean, they just kind of taught me. It's just a customer service inbox, so I manage all the emails, and then their website, I know how to like register people for their events, or it's pretty simple, but they just taught me. And so now if anyone needs to get their CME medical credits, I know exactly how.
Who are some other clients you can talk about just to get a big perspective of what kind of work you do?
Yeah, I had one who is a chiropractor, and I would just make posts like for her Instagram about chiropractic. Like I would literally just Google chiropractic for headaches, and then I would make a post. Did you know chiropractic can decrease your headaches? And so now I know like everything that going to the chiropractor can do for you, because I would just like make graphics for her social media. And I would just make like social media posts for her about chiropractic or acupuncture. Sorry, everyone, I have a cold. So that's why I keep coughing.
Say it's something else. We could even just say that you inhaled some toxic gases outside, but it's not the coronavirus.
It's not corona. It's the cold. Let me think of another one. I have one that's like a yoga instructor, and she does like trauma recovery, and I help her with her Instagram. I had another one that was like a life coach, and I just helped her with her website and when she would go live on Instagram. Another one, I actually had 2 chiropractors, but this lady helps women start their own chiropractic practice. So it's more of like a women empowerment thing. And now I have a client that she does consulting for women in politics and in office. And I help her with her social media and finding those women in office.
How has this job expanded your perspective on what you can actually do to make money?
I think you can do anything to make money at this point because, I had another client I worked with, and she does something called the virtual art spa. Well, she has an in-person art spa and a virtual art spa. You guys can look her up, too. It's Amanacer. I don't know if you have notes.
Amanacer. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but she literally, people would come to her house, and she would do different things to activate their creativity. So she would have them, taste different things for their senses and smell different things and dance and really just try to activate themselves. And people would pay a lot of money to do that with her for a few hours.
Your typical day in Darrington, right?
And then just seeing all these different clients and all these different things people do for work. It's like anything you're passionate about and you can reach that market and that niche of people, you can do it for work. You can literally do anything you want for work. You just have to find the people that are interested.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it, especially when you're dealing with selling a product or with people that you might run into with high net worth or they run a business. I was talking to my other barber in Arizona, not in Washington. He was telling me there was I don't know if he said it was his mom or someone he knows, but they had been passionate about art their entire life. They would make these really cool paintings with abstract, whatever. I don't know anything about art, and she tried to sell them for years and never had any luck. And then as soon as she priced it over $1,000, immediately rich people just started being interested in. So.
Yeah, I think it's actually better to overcharge.
Right, because people that are looking for an art spa, chakra alignment, if they see that you're doing it for $20, maybe it's the same thing, but in their mind, they're getting scammed.
Not as legit or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, and so now they can feel good about where they're putting their money. So really there's a need for almost anything you can provide.
Yeah.
In some form or another. Okay, so I think that gives a fairly good idea about what your job entails. Now let's talk about how would someone sitting in their home wondering to themselves if how long they have to go to their 9-to-5 job flipping patties, and they really want to travel but they have no idea how to do it, and they are where you were at, thinking about how this isn't fun, that kind of thing. There's a lot of people that might not be where they want to yet. Not saying you are, but you are certainly on the right track. How would you recommend someone to start doing something like you were doing? Is it apply to Rivley or what?
Well, I think that's a positive thing that came from COVID is basically everyone is virtual in some sense now. So you have tons of companies hiring virtually. I mean, I think Amazon is hiring hundreds of call people. But so you could search online. But what I did, I joined a shit ton of Facebook groups, girls who travel and work online, digital nomad girls, travel girls, all these different Facebook groups. And people usually post jobs in there. And so I started commenting on all of those. I think that's actually how I found Rivley, was in one of those groups. That's probably the easiest way. You can also, one of the really easiest ways is teach English online.
Really?
Yeah, there's tons of companies what's that one? I did it for like a month.
Taught English.
Yeah. You just have to sign up and you have to like, it's usually like in China. It's like kids in China. So you have to do it in like the middle of the night, but they pay like $10 an hour, I think. And you have to go like, "Hi, my name is Chelsea. Teacher Chelsea." Like you have to like, but they pay pretty good.
You
so
did that?
For like a month, and then I was like, I can't do this. Like, but my friend Lynn, she did it and made tons of money off of it because, so when you're like applying to be one of those, so if you post a video, it's like a teacher video or whatever, you get paid for the views. It's like part of the company, and hers like went viral, and she made like thousands off of it. And she took it down because she was embarrassed, and she could still be making money off of it. But yeah, anyways, anyone can do it. You don't need like any qualifications. You just have to pass their test. But it sucks because you have to do it like the middle of the night because it's in China. What is it called? I want to tell your listeners what it's called. Something kids. Okay, well, you can put it in the notes of the podcast after if I remember. But yeah, there's a few of them. So that's another way. And then newsletters, like, well, I actually hired this girl to help me find a remote job also. Her name is Taylor Lane. And she's like in with all these remote companies, but every Monday she sends you a weekly roundup of companies hiring remotely. So every Monday I would just apply to all of them. And then I have another newsletter I still get. It's called Guava Bean. And every Monday they send me a list of remote jobs hiring, and it has like tech jobs, writing jobs, creativity jobs. So just like join all those groups and newsletters and then apply to literally all of them.
So yeah, it's out there. You just got to look.
Yeah, there's so much, especially now with COVID. Like everyone is virtual.
If you were to start your own firm, how would you go about that?
My own virtual firm?
Yeah. Is that a possibility if you were to, develop a certain amount of clients, or if you had some sort of capital to invest in I don't even know what that would look like. Do you?
I would love to do more of like a media company. I love like more of the creativity stuff. So like web design, and my boyfriend does photography and videography and, content creation for social media. So I would love to do more of like a media company. That would be fun.
Yeah. Any plans in the future for business ideas or media companies?
That's a business
That's
idea
what you're working
in
on.
the works.
That's working on. Okay, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
And cool. Okay, so this job, a big part of it is how it's allowed you to travel.
Yeah.
And I think that's what draws a lot of people and a lot of attention to what you do, is because they see you one weekend in Tulum with a chimpanzee, and you're riding a leopard through the jungle. And they see that and they think, hey, that's pretty cool. And then the next weekend, you're in Seattle sipping a coffee in Pike Place Market. So how has this job allowed you to do that, and where have you traveled? Like, what has been your experience with traveling so far doing this job?
First of all, I did this all with my own money. I got so many mean comments when I started doing that. Like, oh, are your parents paying for this? Are you part of a pyramid scheme? Who's your sugar daddy? Like, but like when you're overseas, everything is so much cheaper. So imagine like I'm making US dollars, and then I'm in a third world country. So, I mean, in Tulum, I had a beautiful apartment for $350 a month. And I mean, I had a pool, like think Tulum, like really beautiful. And then we were looking up apartments in Bali. You can have an entire villa, like literally a 2-story villa with a pool for like $300 a month. And I'm making US dollars. And also I did it where I was like backpacking, so I didn't need to purchase any plane tickets except the first one. So which I got from San Diego. I walked over the border from San Diego to Tijuana. And so then it's an in-country ticket. So from Tijuana to Tulum, it was like literally a $150 plane ticket. And then bus rides are like $2. So, and then I ate a lot of like fruit and veggies and like local food off the street, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm making US dollars. So it's not like you have to be some rich person to travel. If you can work online, like I actually saved so much money being overseas and I come here and I'm poor because everything's so expensive.
Yeah, people think of traveling as they save up all year so they can do this 1 week when they go to a resort.
Yeah, you don't have to do that at all.
Whereas if you're just making money from wherever you're at, plane tickets turn into rent, villas that are cheap because of where you're at turn into rent. And I think, what is it, for the average American pays 70% of their income in housing.
Yeah, and then they go to work every day, so they're not even in the house.
Yeah, which is kind of a crazy scam, but...
Yeah. So I did think of it like that. Like every time I got an Airbnb or a plane ticket or a bus, I was like, this is my rent.
Yeah. So where have you traveled since you started working for Rivley?
Well, this year I decided I wanted to like a solo trip, but my friend Lynn ended up joining me. So we started in Mexico and then ended in Costa Rica. So we went Mexico, and then I went by myself over to Belize, and then Guatemala, Nicaragua, Costa Rica.
Wow.
That's where I've been traveling and working. Aside from that, I've also been to Thailand and China and... Oh, DR. I worked in the DR too. But Central America was like my work and travel trip.
Do you know off the top of your head how many countries you've been to?
I can count really quick. Does Canada count?
Yes, count. Go.
Canada, Thailand, China, DR, Mexico, Belize, Guatemala, Haiti, Costa Rica, Nicaragua. 10?
Nice. Yeah.
I think 10.
Not bad at all. Okay, so I think as far as what you do, we've covered that pretty thoroughly. So we do have some questions from our viewers that we can take a look at.
Okay.
Right now, for documenting purposes, we have 20 subscribers to the YouTube channel. So
subscribe, everybody.
We've gotten some questions from the gram. First one, should I say who their names are? Do you think?
It's up to you. It's your podcast.
Sharon would like a shout out. Sharon Pathy.
Sharon!
Out of Seattle, Washington. Asks, where do you see yourself in 10 years?
10 years is so long. I literally never plan ahead. I only plan a year in advance.
Yeah.
But
I told Kenny you were going to say that.
I literally never plan ahead. But I think I would love to be, I think by then I'd be done traveling. So I'd love to be settled down somewhere not in the U.S. and have a Airbnb travel lodge type situation. If I could have one in a different multiple ones in different continents and could rotate, that would be awesome.
Whoa.
My boyfriend and I have talked about that. If we could have one in each place and then spend a few months in each one or whatever, and then meet other cool travelers and...
Yeah, it's big time right there.
Yeah.
That's really doing it right there.
That's the big dream.
That's what it's about. All right, good question. Let's see. This is from Cole Grindy. Why does traveling create such happiness in your life?
You told me this ahead of time, and I still have to think about it.
Brutal.
Well, I think I'm the type of person who really doesn't like to stay in one place. I like new adventures every day. And when I travel, it's every day there's something new and exciting to see. And new types of people to meet and new cultures and new foods. It's I'm constantly being stimulated, all my senses. And different ways of life. My eyes are getting opened completely. Every place I go, every person I meet adds to my worldview and my perspective. And I just feel I grow so much. And it's so, it's literally, I'm on an adrenaline rush the whole time. So
does that ever get tiring? Imagine if
it gets tiring. So I had to learn, like, when I was doing it as work, I had to learn, like, remind myself, like, you're not just like a backpacker. Like, I had to invest. I had to feel okay with investing in a nice Airbnb with good Wi-Fi. And at first I was feeling bad because, like, Monday through Friday I would work and I wasn't even exploring. It's like I came all the way to Nicaragua and I've been in the house the whole time. But you have to create that balance. Like, on the weekends I can explore. And then, Monday through Friday, it's kind of like it's work time, it's go time. And then in the afternoon, I could go out and have dinner somewhere cool. But in order to not get, like, tired out, it also helped to stay at least 2 weeks in each place. So I could get a routine and a work schedule. And I had to start telling myself, like, you're not on vacation. Well, you're kind of on vacation, but you're not on vacation. You're working.
Right.
Because at first it was like, I would go out all day and then work all night and then wake up tired and then drink it. And it was like this bad cycle.
Yeah. I imagine a lot of people think when they hear what you do, you travel for a living, and they picture that they leave out the work part and the picture of what you're doing, which
like,
is most of it, right?
Yeah, like, I've literally been somewhere a week and didn't explore once until, the weekend.
That's a reality that people also have to acknowledge if they want to get into something like this and actually make it work, because in order to pay bills, you do need to provide a value to who you're working
Even
for.
like, we're here in Scottsdale and we haven't really done a lot because it's a work week. So I have to work on not feeling guilty about that.
Right. All right, next question from Jalen Prophet. Are your trips planned for you?
No. I did a lot of research, and that's actually something I'm thinking also of a business idea, is like itinerary creation or trip planning, because I love doing that. So I would just read blogs and...
Episode 1 of the Get Wealth podcast. Ever heard of it?
Yep.
Travel architect.
Travel designer. Yeah, so I just did tons of research and asked questions in those Facebook groups, and then whenever I was somewhere, I made sure to, like, ask someone local. Like, I would ask the Airbnb owner, what do you recommend? And the restaurant owner, what do you recommend? And yeah, I just did a lot of it was actually a lot of work.
Yeah, so that's a no small feat to plan.
It's like a second job,
right.
Planning my own trips.
Alrighty, next question. Have you learned any cool or different languages, phrases, words?
Well, from living in Haiti, I learned Creole. I would say I'm fluent in it.
Can you say 3 chimpanzees stroll through the playground
I don't know how to say
next
chimpanzee.
Saturday? So you don't really know Creole.
I don't know how to say chimpanzee.
All right,
Bonsoir, comment est? Mais Chelsea, m'contawe?
Sac passé, Mac Poulet.
There you go.
And also that song in the beginning that I opened up with.
I did not know you were going to do that.
My solo. I learned that song. She claims I'm not saying things the right way, but I actually performed that in front of over 100 people.
At church, because
Not
my
kidding.
dad and the pastor bet him.
Yeah, it was bet $20 that I wouldn't sing that song in front of our entire church, and I did.
You sure did.
And I just bombed. It was terrible. No one knew what I was saying. They probably thought I was crazy. They were like, "Did he even go on the trip? Is this who? Someone take the mic?" And I was kind of listening to it in my ear, and I lost the words, and I was trying to get him to sing along with me. And, so that song has a special place. But so you're fluent in Creole. Any other languages?
I started picking up Spanish pretty well towards the end of my trip, because I just kind of had to get around. But now I forgot it again. But I'm sure if I was there, I could pick it up again.
Cool.
That's it. I can say something in French.
It's like basically the same, right? Just
no, French is
all?
way harder.
Oh, it's harder, but they use a lot of words that are the same, and
yeah, it has French in it. It's like
that's what Creole is. The word Creole is a combination of two things.
Yeah, the
right?
history of it, if you want a little Haitian history, is like when the French colonized the island or came on the island, they had slaves with them from Africa, And so the slaves made a language to be able to communicate with each other. So it has like African dialect in it, but like French words.
Whoa, that's
I think that's
super
how it came.
interesting.
I think.
That's really
I hope
cool.
I didn't say. Okay, I said that right. Oh, did you want to hear me say something in French?
Oh, sure.
Je mange une pomme rouge.
What does that mean?
I'm eating a red apple. It's the only thing I know how to say.
All right. It's one thing you don't got to worry about being confused. Cool. There's a few more here. Let me just make sure I got all the questions. How do you know, or how do you choose what clothes to travel with?
That's actually a really fun question because I had to like be pretty smart about it. So I just did like a black t-shirt, a white t-shirt like this, jean shorts, swimsuit. But something that is like my biggest travel tip is, I think they're called a sarong. Those I can get one. I have it over there, but it's like a wrap, basically a wrap. And I packed 2 of those because you can use it as your beach towel, your towel. I would wrap it like a skirt. I would tie it around me like a dress. I tied it into a shirt. Like literally I used that thing so many ways. So I just had to pick things that could be used different ways and like mix and match and whatever.
Nice. So a lot actually goes into planning what clothes you're going to wear.
Yeah, and to save space too. And then sometimes I would like ditch things in a place and buy some, like swap it.
That question was from Kim Wiersma, Mother Wiersma, supporter of the podcast, one of the first ones. All right, and last but certainly not least,
Gosh.
tell us why you choose to treat your cat like a dog.
I knew it was going to be about that. I love my cat. Wait, let's put her in it. This is my kitty, and I travel with her. And she has fake acrylic nails on. No, she was my emotional support animal during COVID when I couldn't travel. And then I realized she loves playing outside. And then I started following vloggers that camp and travel with their cats. And they take their cats like kayaking and on camping trips. So I was like, we need to do that. And she's so good at it.
Yep, just climb on everything. You can do that. Just go right ahead.
So
there.
I got a backpack to take her. And then we set up like a pulley system lead line so that she can walk around the campsite. And she comes back when I call her, and she's just the best little travel kitty.
Can you do the call?
Kitty want a baby.
Nice.
I knew he was going to ask that.
That was Tanner Wiersma, brother Wiersma, also one of the first supporters of the podcast. Thank you for your question. Also, tomorrow's chest day, so I'll be sending you the workout for that as personal coach. Okay, and before we head out of here, we got to answer this question because this is the Get Wealth podcast. How do you define wealth?
I think wealth is, it can be so many things, but for me personally, I look at it as having like a fruitful, full life. I would say that I live a wealthy lifestyle because I have so many people in my life that are just really high quality people, and I get to have really high quality experiences all the time. Traveling like this, doing something I love with people I love. For me, it feels like I have wealth, no matter how much is actually in my bank account, which is not a lot.
I couldn't agree more. You heard it here first, folks. Chelsea Wiersma. All right. Is there anything you want to plug yourself, social medias, stuff like that?
Yeah, my Instagram is at Chelsea Lynn Lou. I have 2 middle names, Lynn Louise. And my website is chelsealynlou.com. But I haven't updated it in a while because I've been working on this new business idea. So Instagram's probably my main place.
Your blog, what was the blog called? Sorry.
chelsealynlou.com.
chelsealynlou.com.
Oh, yeah, that has all my travel tips on there. Like, I did a blog post for each country I visited. So there's some travel tips on there.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a good place to go learn about Chelsea Lynn Lou because she blogs all of her experiences, day-to-day type stuff. Well, thanks for coming on the Get Wealth podcast. I appreciate the support and taking the time. And, it's been a pleasure.
Woohoo, we did it!
Get wealth, ladies and gentlemen.